Hello, friends, and welcome to Activate and Thrive and to our weekly Thriving Thursday chat, where we chat with different, beautiful, health minded people about many different aspects of thriving and being well and healthy. We run these chats every Thursday at noon East Coast time, and we run them live on Facebook. That's East Coast US. I have to say that because our guest today is in Greece. We love it. Last week we had someone from Spain, so we're getting a little international here. Anyway, we run these live on Facebook each Thursday, and we also put them on Instagram and YouTube. So wherever you're watching from, whether live or later on one of our platforms, thank you so much for being here today. My name's Dawn.
And I'm Mia. And our guest today is Kanelli Scalcoyannis. I sort of did that well. Scalcoyannis, there we go. She's a multi-passionate entrepreneur and fellow biohacker like us. Born in South Africa, living in Athens, Greece. She works as a business strategist with clients in Europe to help them expand and build their businesses around health and well-being on and offline. She's a health coach assisting women to heal naturally who are struggling with hormonal imbalance symptoms. And she's spent 15 years expanding brands across consumer products categories in Europe, in multiple territories for Warner Brothers, Disney, Nickelodeon, MTV, Snoopy, Italian fashion brands, just all across South Europe and Latin America. And in her high school years, she was a triathlete. She won a competition at 19. She's studied advertising and marketing and graduated top of class. But most importantly, she's an eternal student, having studied nutrition and functional nutrition, detoxification, personal development, jazz vocals, jazz theory. But she's really committed to helping people thrive and reaching their full self-expression. So welcome, Kanelli. We are so happy to have you with us today.
So good to be here. So good to be here and be with, I love, chatting to couples that are up to something amazing.
Well, thank you. We are excited about what we're involved with together. So why don't we kick this off by just learning a little bit about you and, how you got started as a health coach, biohacker, entrepreneur, all of that. But let's start with the health piece.
So, once somebody said to me, life doesn't happen linearly, it happens all together. And this, how random people in your life just give you important messages, And I was at that point, I was struggling between, do I go to New York and carry on studying my jazz? But I just met my husband and I was like, I love this boy, but what do we do? And then I got that message which said, and I said, no, I want to study first and then have children, then do this. Then, she's like, it doesn't happen that way. Life happens all together. So my health journey was never something I said, oh, when I grow up, I want to, even though I always had a very amazing interest in food and sports, and I was always in the kitchen from 9 years old, and my mother and my lineage gave me that, right, as a Greek girl growing up. So I was always interested, always making colorful, bright salads. But really, what happened was after my girls were born, I had this hormonal breakdown. I mean, literally for half of the month, I was not operating or functioning properly. So what that would look like was from ovulation onwards, leading to a menstruation, I literally fell into major fatigue, major depression, or it was oscillating between grief and rage, and I couldn't handle stress, and I couldn't get up to drop my kids off at school. So it was just, something was off, radically off. And when I went to gynecologists, or when I went to practitioners, they were saying, well, just, take a synthetic, take the pill. Why don't you go on the pill? And I just thought, I'm breastfeeding and I've got babies, and it just doesn't sound like the thing to do, to put synthetic hormones in my body. And then they said, well, then why don't you just take an antidepressant? And I thought, what, for the 9 days of the month that I don't feel normal? The rest of the days were absolutely perfect, clockwork. So I had to go and find and dig, right? And as an eternal student, this is kind of my intuition was telling me there's another way. And so that led me to study with some of the world's greatest. And I was searching for them, and thank God, here we are, we've got the internet. And I always say that there's really no excuse. If you want to learn anything, you can just get on the internet and learn it, right? Whether it's an online course or whether you find a practitioner or somebody. So that's pretty much how. So once I'd healed my own self, I realized, and actually they had given a name to what I had, right? We love these labels that we get. So in those days, really nobody knew a lot about it. It was called PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric syndrome. It's kind of like PMS, but on steroids. And now there's just millions of women struggling with this. And I've understood really why it's becoming more and more and more and more because of toxicity. And so a lot of women are struggling with this. And I always say that a woman's body is really the mirror of what's happening in nature, what's happening in the world at the moment. So we kind of like mirroring what Mother Earth is going through, And that's really how it started. So of course, if you found your own solution, you want to go and give that to people that are like where I was, struggling, not only struggling away, but it's just detrimental to your whole family and to the impact of people around you, your work, your full self-expression. I mean, you can't do much. You're just not functionable, and that wasn't okay for me, and therefore it's not okay for me to then watch others struggle through.
No, I can totally relate. I had a period in my life like that as well. So, well, so needed. Today's topic, let me just pivot a little bit, is the gift of these times. And well, the last 24 months or so have been pretty challenging around the globe. And so many, have lost loved ones. So let's focus on how these challenges have brought out the gift, if you will, so just.
What is the gift of these times to you?
I think it's many, many things. I'll start with my first big kind of whoa, because when it hit, I'm married to a phenomenal performance artist. He's a classical pianist, trained composer. And suddenly I was like, whoa, just like one income stream in the household can just disappear overnight. And it had me thinking that we hadn't thought about, setting ourselves up financially to kind of navigate these unexpected scenarios. And the unexpected is going to happen, right? I mean, it's not, and I was looking at that time many things. Like I looked at my dad, I looked at my mom. My dad also had unexpected stuff happen. He had 2 armed robberies, back to back. And these are things that affect your livelihood. And when they affect your livelihood, it also affects the way that you earn money, right? So I looked at my mom's, started losing her health, and I thought this is something that maybe it was a gift to see this in these times, that I can do something about this, right? And so my body always speaks to me quite loudly, so through symptoms, right? And at the time, like I know what I do normally is I go into strong mode and try and solve the problem, but the universe just said, no, this is not really the way to handle these times. Tapped me on the shoulder and said, you need to find another income stream. Carry on doing what you're doing, your bread and butter business, which is fantastic, right? But find another income stream that you can build on a residual income basis. And I was one of those people that then, put a post up in a Facebook group of trusted entrepreneurs and said, I'm looking for something that I knew I was looking for something really specific. I wanted it to be revolutionary in health, because I was tapping into what is this time talking about? What is this time wanting of me? How do I step up and serve better, help better? And I was already helping people with their health. And so I knew that this time was calling for sustainability, the way that how we become more sustainable as a whole, as a human race, and sustainability on many fronts, and sustainability in the way we earn money, right? So we can't just go through what I normally experience in life as I go to what I call these great jobs, but then they burn me out. And then I go into kind of the health and wellness and the meditation and the yoga. And then, then you can go back into the hunt, what I call the hunt, right? So the gift was definitely for myself, finding not only a phenomenal way to earn residual income. And what I mean by that, because I didn't have a clear understanding what that was, is that is when your income can exponentially grow. And this is something that's quite phenomenal when you're just used to earning linear income, like income that just drops because of one person's effort or because of your efforts. And then if you're not working, the income stops. And we've all, I mean, I'd experienced that in my career, in working for some of the great entertainment brands, but I also got a glimpse of that because I was involved in a licensing industry, right? Which means royalties can drop. Now, even though that is residual income, it's not exponential income. In other words, you can't multiply and based on multiplication, like kind of a TikTok video. So that is something that I didn't expect that I would find, A. And B, I found this phenomenal community of people around the globe that kind of were like me, you know? They were that, I wouldn't say oddball, but I'd say seekers, heart-centered, visionaries, people that want to contribute to the world. They don't want to just do something for the sake of doing it. They want, yes, abundance, but they also want to make an impact. And as a result, you know, my cup was fuller, you know, like finally I belong and these are the people that I love to be with. And as I kind of built the business and started to like experience, I mean, I went on this fantastic trip. I got to meet my business partners that flew in from America. And I just thought, wow, I realized I'm doing something part-time that my children also watching me do, right? They're watching and they're learning with mommy, right? When mommy says she's going to go for the next kind of level and achievement, they're watching me do that. And also I'm doing this with people that I love and thrive with. I can't say that in my business career I had that. You know, there's always going to be people that irritate you or, you know, kind of spoil your parade, you know. So this is something that I didn't expect, and I love that. So that's definitely for me is gifts of Corona, that I found a phenomenal high vibration tribe that I didn't feel the isolation of COVID. I didn't feel I never went into fear mode because I was actively creating my future to have health a priority and to create an additional income stream.
And so
the other, so I was just going to say the other gifts definitely are, you know, a focus on health. And so, and there are many more gifts, but yeah, go ahead, Dom.
do you want me to?
Go ahead.
So no, it sounds like this beautiful opportunity to create a new income stream and to be in such a beautiful vibe was a direct offshoot of the pandemic, because otherwise you would not have been searching for something. Would that be the case? You would have been kind of coasting along as you were, and kind of mind closed to the possibilities maybe a little bit.
You know what? You know how they say, I was expecting to find something, but I thought I was going to find it 5 years ago, because I've been praying and what I see now is that everything I've done has led me here. And it's almost too good to be true. And everything, all of my loves and desires and passions, everything's in here. So that's what I didn't expect. And I think the pandemic just sped up the process. It made me really clear, like, this is what I want it now. Whereas maybe if the pandemic hadn't come in, I would have done my little procrastinating thing, you know? And I wouldn't have said, yes, I wouldn't have actually said, yes, I'm jumping in. I'm doing this, you know?
Yeah, that gift box sounds like it's the perfect gift. It's health, it's financial benefits, it's community, and it's all that vibe that you were praying for and just listening for. And it's beautiful when you find that. I mean, it could be a once in a lifetime that you find something like that, right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And you must have, I mean, I know we have also felt the gift of these times, most certainly, and we won't go into that. That's not the point of this chat, but you must have also talked to other people, because I know I have also, who have felt we often refer to it as the silver lining of these times. We're calling it the gift of these times today. So you must have talked to others who also are experiencing blessings, I sometimes felt, I shouldn't say like guilty experiencing such blessings, but you know that there's this suffering through this situation, and you know, people are dying and sometimes at least very sick, and so here I am feeling all these blessings. I've been able to reconcile that, but I guess this is a long-winded way of asking, well, what do you suppose is at the core of people being able to find the good and the gifts at times like this? Well, what's behind that? How can we do that as humans?
Well, I think the biggest key is come together. The moment, like, you know, Nelson Mandela said Ubuntu, because he says, when I come together with you, and I kind of a couple of years ago, I was in a I don't know what you call when we do the singing, chanting in the yogic tradition, but you know, when you're doing one mantra and you're just singing that.
Kundalini yoga.
It wasn't Kundalini, but it was, I'll remember it. And I remember in that moment, I realized that community is communion with God, because, and this is what Nelson Mandela meant by saying the word Ubuntu, is I am because you are. In other words, when we come together, it's like there's almost a different birth of me that appears than if I'm sitting alone with all my negative thoughts. So I think when we're in those moments of despair, and I still go through them like any other human, right? But I almost live through them parallel, like it's Kanelli going through her despair moment, and then this kind of voice going, yeah, this is for your expansion. So I know that that little valley is just taking me to the next big thing, and I just have to kind of ride the wave, you know. So I think coming together in community is a way for people to experience the gift, because the moment you're isolated and the negative thoughts take control, then you go down a spiral.
Yeah.
So, and we've got wonderful ways to connect, even though maybe people are even in lockdown. And I know it's been difficult, especially for our Australian friends. It's been really tragically difficult. But we have Zoom, we've got WhatsApp, we've got Facebook Messenger. We've got ways that we get out. That's what I would just say is like, just stay plugged in and find like-minded community.
Yeah, it's like that belief of separation, you know, so that's what wants to divide, but we have a choice there, right?
Well, it's so ironic that you say from coming together, right? Because the catchwords here have been social distancing through this whole thing, and yet somehow humans find a way to come together anyway. And I have tended to like the idea of, well, it's maybe physical distancing, but social distancing, maybe not as much. You know, we were finding ways to connect and stay connected through these different platforms and all. So I think it's very interesting that you say coming together is one way people have found the gift of these times. So.
Yeah, I mean, in ancient times and older times, they were coming together, let's say, through dance, right? And there would be, I know in our Greek tradition, they got circle dancing, and that's no different than let's join our energy. Because when we join our energy and we're going cyclical, our energy goes up, right? So, you know, otherwise we're all kind of separated at our kitchen sink with our worry mind, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that as women, you know, we're going to spend a lot of time in our lives in the kitchen sink. So I often tell my ladies that I coach, I said, just put your best music there, put Michael Jackson there, put, you know, because you might as well just have a good party while you're at the kitchen sink, you know. So.
Yeah, exactly. We have a spiritual mentor who told us once that her mom said to her, just because your hand's in the diaper pail doesn't mean your thought needs to be.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what about like other ways that you felt the gifts of these times? You mentioned, you know, expanding your thought to embrace this new income stream and the community that's involved there. Are there other ways that you have experienced the gifts of these times as well?
You know what I think is lovely is that it's made me just focus on, let's say, in my social circle. Like normally before, I just want to be with the world, right? And now I'm kind of okay just to be where the energy is reciprocal, you know. And I think it's made calmer. You know, you just select, okay, I don't want all the noise. I just need what's true and what's authentic and what's I don't want to say the word easy, because but you know, you don't have to be spreading yourself too thin. I think the way that the pandemic has taken away a lot of the noise. And I don't live with TV. I haven't had TV in my home for decades. And so I don't really see what the media is saying. I'm not kind of in that whole world. So I just, mine's just more listening, listening to what, what's coming through. So that's the gifts. Other gifts are just treasuring. I think I saw a colleague the other day, and we gave each other, I hadn't seen him for like maybe, I don't know, over a year. We just gave each other such a big long hug. And we knew in that moment why we were hugging for so long, because it's not a given that you're going to see people again. Like nothing is a given. And I think it's made me honor relationships more. And like, I'm not going to sweat the small stuff, like I'm not going to give myself permission anymore to get irritated with a family like member or a, it's just like love them for their amazingness and just drop the rest. Like, don't worry about the stuff that irritates you anymore about that person. Just celebrate the other parts, right? Celebrate what they are amazing with. And because nothing's guaranteed. They're going to be here today, gone tomorrow, and same with us. I think it's just
absolutely.
Cut the bullshit and just really go to what's true and meaningful.
Right. Well, I think that's definitely, I mean, even though these chats are fundamentally to hear our guests' impressions of things, I will go ahead and share that one gift for me personally has been as a professional musician, coming out of that place where it's a confession, where you're doing it to make a buck, to make money. And it's sad to say, but even in the beauty of the performing arts, one can sometimes start doing it, for different reasons than when you started as a kid. Let's put it that way. And the pandemic really showed me what's truly meaningful. And just very, very briefly, the one example that stands out is I was asked to play a funeral last year. And typically these events would be, okay, so what does that pay? Okay, yeah, I can do that. Yeah, I'm available. You go and play, you get the check, and you go home. It's a horrible thing to confess, because I'm really made of better stuff than that. But but this is how the mentality gets. But last year I was just moved by being able to contribute violin playing to a family who was the fourth family member they were losing from cancer. And I just thought, if I'm just giving a little something from playing this violin for them, and they might remember that. And, they handed me a check afterwards, because that's how it worked. But I was like, wow, I actually don't care about that right now. I care about something deeper. I care about having brought a blessing. And for whatever reason, it took a pandemic for me to change my mindset and my mentality. And I know that I will never go back, because my eyes have been open to reopened, shall we say, to what's most meaningful. So just thought I'd share that.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I did a wedding with my husband 2 months ago, and this is after we were all in such severe lockdown. Now they suddenly had 250 people with, of course, masks and gloves at the buffet. But when I was watching the audience, so to speak, I was just watching with the old people and thinking, oh my goodness, this is just phenomenal that they've come together again, and the old people can now experience community, because they've all been sitting at home alone, and yeah, I agree. I mean, that's why I think what we have our hands on as this, like for me, it's a side business, but growing really quickly, is that I get a chance to kind of activate each person that I come, and I want them to be protected, because I know the way the body works, and especially around a time that's high viral load. I want people to make sure that they bring that viral load down in their bodies, because as we can see, it's not a good time. So if I can have a place in that for every person that I meet, then why not? And that's why I think this business is such a win-win business. But
that's wonderful.
I love that you pivoted to that, because, in dealing with this viral load, we didn't really talk about so much what a biohacker is, but all of this is hijacking our lives, our health, our environment, our lives. And so a biohacker is taking control of that, right?
Yeah.
And
I've been in that biohacking world for 4 years now, because I had to take control of my own hormonal health, and I didn't know that, the EMFs and what you think is even healthy food is actually not so healthy for you, and the power of actually, raising the antioxidant potential in your body. And we've all learned these little bit words now, glutathione, and everybody's become a little health expert in the last while, which is great because people have needed to do that to go to the next level. You can't just be the victim of a disease coming on, and I think people have got an opportunity now to do something about it.
Yeah, I'm so very grateful that we have tools in our toolbox to help people with that, and that they can just reach out and learn, how they can get on the other side of this stuff and really stack the deck in their favor.
Well, we always reach a point in these chats where we need to bring it to a close, and we're never ready to. I think I'd just like to ask you one final thing on this idea of the gift of these times. What would you have to say to somebody who has really felt through all this that, well, that's really swell for these people, that they're feeling the silver lining and the blessings and all, but it's been nothing but economic loss for me. My family's in a terrible place where it never was. I have this family member who's sick from it, whatever. What do you have to say to someone who would love to find the gift of these times, but is having trouble finding it?
I would say to that person, just really reach out. I mean, you can reach out to any of us. You can reach out to Don, to Mia, to myself, because that place where you're at, where you kind of feel like you're crawling, right? And it's just like, whoa, like this, I can't even get up. I promise you, we will take you with 5 of our hands each, and we will like pull you up into, we have a community of millions, and it's just been mind-blowing for myself to see how many people are just like have pulled me up, right, and helping my whole family rise, right, and I'm now helping others do the same. So it's become this like ripple effect, and I don't have to do it on my own. This is the biggest thing, is that I'm never alone in this business. I'm never alone doing this phenomenal thing. And I mean, really just reach out, and it's just, it really, you never know where it's going to come from. And I always kept hearing that what you're going to get is way more than you expected. And this is exactly the feeling that I've been experiencing. And it's been 15 months for me personally. And it's just been really like, I don't know, with the bubble of joy floating along. Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your very positive experiences during the pandemic, Kanelli. It's been really such a joy to have you with us. Friends, we just want to say that Kanelli and Mia and I and many other people are working in just a beautiful business opportunity. We don't make a big thing of all of that on these chats. We like to talk generally about health and wellness and thriving. But the fact is, it is a very beautiful business opportunity with a remarkable, groundbreaking health technology. It's a natural health technology that is doing so much good for so many people, both with their health and with financial betterment and having a new mission and purpose in life, like Kanelli has talked about. So if you would like to know more, please feel free to reach out to us at Activate and Thrive. You can, drop a message into the message area on Facebook or Instagram or YouTube, and we'd be happy to connect with you or to connect you with Kanelli. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. And look for these each week on Thursdays at noon East Coast US time. Thanks again, Kanelli.
Thank you, Kanelli, and thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.